Friends, colleagues, and listeners, here we are, and this is a very, very, very special podcast for me because the gentleman I'm going to introduce in a minute is one of the nicest people I've ever met. And even though I didn't know him for as many years as I'd like, and I didn't work with him as long as I'd like, he made a huge impression on me when I was based in the States. Person I'm talking about, Ron Sanford. Ron, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you very much for having me on. Don't know why you asked me to be on, but thank you for those nice compliments as well.
Right. I will tell you why now, Ron. Okay. You've just completed 41 years with Lufthansa. Okay. You've put so much of your life into a great company, and we'll come to that as well later on. And, you know, when myself and Salem, we were talking about examples and how people's attitudes and times change with, you know, having multiple jobs and changing companies and, you know, and I just thought when I seen that note on LinkedIn, I thought, and I love the picture, by the way, you're absolutely fantastic. What I thought was, I want to speak to somebody who spent a lot of time with one company, ask you why, what the benefits were, you know, just looking back on things, some of the people that we both know. There's a few stories that we managed to share before this, which we won't be able to share on air. But seriously though, Ron, honest to God, mate, every time I met you, every meeting I was in, every interaction, you're an absolute star. Lovely, lovely man. And, you know, you're a solid people person. You build good relationships, and I've never, ever heard anybody say a bad word about you. And I think if you can do that over 41 years and across international boundaries, you know, you should be so proud of yourself. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm flattered coming from you, man. That means a lot. And yeah, it's amazing. I don't know where 41 years went. I don't feel like I've been working with Lufthansa for 41 years. You know, it just has gone by so quick.
Yeah.
They said life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it goes. So,
yeah.
I don't feel like I'm getting close to the end, but it's been an incredible ride. And I can't believe it. I really can't. It's still surreal for me. I'm adjusting.
Yeah, but Ron, I got to say, you don't look as though you've done 41 years anywhere. You still look well. So obviously something's going well. The old cream, or you know, the stress-free lifestyle down there in Florida.
This is true. We got some nice weather down here. I won't tell you what the temperature is, but you're in Spain. You probably have the same type of weather that we have here.
I must say it's nice, and I'm sorry about the rugged look. It's a little bit of I do a Father Christmas for the grandchildren every year, so I let it grow a little bit, but I'm also doing a bit of work down here on a project, so I've let it go a little bit. So it's not because of not respecting our interface here, but every now and again you just got to let it go. Now, Ron,
you know what? I see the wisdom. I see some wisdom in that little beard you got going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I don't call it gray. I call it wisdom.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of wisdom there, my friend. Yeah, thanks for that. But listen, I want to ask you now. So when you started in Lufthansa 41 years ago, so 1980 or whatever it was, what did you think you were getting yourself into? And why did you want to be in aviation?
Great question. Great question. And I was actually in college going to school for an engineering, you know, civil engineering. And I was dating an Italian girl for quite a bit of time. And I was working for Continental Airlines back in '79, and we got to the position to where we were handling Lufthansa. Then Lufthansa offered me a job. I was actually in Casper, Wyoming, interviewing for another job with Continental.
Yeah.
And then I got a call, or when I called back home, because we didn't have cell phones back then, they said, "Hey, Lufthansa is looking to hire you. And if you come back, you got a job." And I says, okay. I got in it because I was going to school. I was living on my own. I needed to have an income. And I loved it. I loved the fact that we were loading boxes into planes. Back then, you had to manually load things in. We didn't have the wide bodies on Continental. And even for Lufthansa, you know, we were flying 707s, believe it or not, back then. And I says, okay, this is good. I love the aviation. I love the fuel, being on the tarmac and stuff like that. And I didn't like loading the boxes as much as I expressed here. But at the same time, I realized I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to move on and do something else. So let me get into this company. have some international travel benefits, and learn about it. So that's how I transitioned into working in the aviation industry. I got the handling experience.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you towards the end of the session a similar question, but based on 41 years later, looking back. But now you said about the international. Now, something that a lot of people probably don't know, and anybody that worked for Lufthansa will definitely know, there was a magical place called Zeeheim. And if ever Walt Disney could make a film or a story out of something and have it as a I'm going to come to that, and have it as a magical place, it was Zeeheim. My goodness me, that was such a surreal place that bonded so many friendships, relationships, different approaches, contacts, networking. It was incredible, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I got sent for an A1 course back then. It was 3 weeks.
Yeah,
3
yeah.
weeks. And I learned about world geography, because the United States in schools, they didn't teach you about world geography. Having to learn the 3-letter codes for all the airports around the world that Lufthansa flew to. And being in school for 3 weeks with a class of 30 people, you learn a lot about them, and you establish relationships that last a lifetime. I still keep in touch with Peter Ashwood. Matter of fact, he came over and spent 3 weeks with me about 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. And he stayed with us for 3 weeks. We drove up to North Carolina and through Florida and had a great time. So Caddy's doing great, and stayed in touch with him. But you're absolutely right. And I love Zeeheim because it was an opportunity to meet people from around the world and to expand your knowledge and your competence. Every time I went over there, I wanted to make sure I passed the course. As much as I had a good time, I wanted to make sure that I showed the people back home that, hey, look, I value this opportunity and I'm going to exceed, excel.
And you use a good word there, competence. And they were good trainers, weren't they? When you think some of the guys that trained us, their experience, their knowledge, and the manner in which they passed it on, and it was quite a disciplined, tough era. I remember on my A1, and believe it or not, I think I did mine before you. It was 4 weeks.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
oh my goodness!
And I remember the instructor telling me, Wendell Jennings. Do you remember Wendell from?
It sounds familiar. I
from Atlanta. Wendell Jennings and a bloke called Chris Wow, I think his name was, or Chris Wow or something. They pulled he pulled the 3 of us together. He said, guys, he said, you're drinking too much. He said, you're enjoying yourselves too much. He said, you're going to fail. And he said, you're all on your 6 months probation. He said, we give a report back. He said, you failed in the first 6 months. You boys are out. So he said, you need to knuckle down. Now, the incentive for the 3 of us wasn't about keeping a job. It was having another 3 weeks in Zeeheim. We studied like mad, and we aced the test on the Monday. And he said, right, your averages are up, you can stay. And he said, I'll be telling, I can't remember who it was, to send messages back to your stations. And I can remember after that, like you, no matter how much fun you have, do not fail a course in Zeeheim.
Exactly. I mean, it was an opportunity that the company gave you. It was a vacation in a great place. And you're right. I mean, it couldn't have been designed any better. What a location, in downtown. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And now the thing that you held up there that people are probably thinking, what on earth was that? That is a unique piece of history. I've still got mine. And when I knock everything on the head, I'm going to frame it and put it up in my office. Now, just hold it up a second. Hold it up again, Ron, for me, will you? Right. This was a training. It was more than a training certificate, wasn't it? It was like a passport.
Correct.
Every time you went on a training course you passed, the instructors, who were like, I mean, they were famous in Lufthansa, they would stamp it and sign it, but it's not made out of paper, is it? It's
a plastic material. It was made to last a long time. As you can tell, it's been around it's been in a file, safely preserved, but it's a plastic type of a paper, and it's going to last forever. It's good.
Yeah, and everybody that I know who stayed in Lufthansa for a certain period of time, they've all still got their passport.
Very meaningful, right? I mean, you go over there and you're looking forward to taking another course and getting your stamp of approval.
Yeah. It meant something.
It's like a diploma. It's like a diploma. You know what I mean? I have experience. I've learned. I've taken these tests and I've passed them. So
yeah.
it gave you the credentials you needed to do your job. When you went back home, you felt empowered as well, in your office. You'd go in the warehouse, in my case, come back and work in the warehouse. I felt empowered that I passed the course and I knew I could do what was expected of me. You know what I mean? And so it was a great, something else that was good was we used to actually send, Lufthansa used to send the agents over to say hi too. That was a fantastic marketing item, because the agents would go over there for 2 weeks or 1 week, whatever it was. They would learn the same thing that we learned in the A1 course. When they came back, who do you think they gave their cargo to?
Yep.
Lufthansa. They were so grateful too that they said, hey, look, I have a shipment going to Bangkok, I'm going to give it to Lufthansa. I have a shipment going to Vienna, I'm going to give it to Lufthansa. It was a great marketing item, so.
No, it's fantastic. And the other thing is all the other carriers and everybody in the business, they knew that if you attended a Lufthansa training course, so if it was the Lufthansa DGR, if it was Lufthansa Live Animals, whatever it was, if you attended the Lufthansa course and you had the certificate, it meant something, because it wasn't an easy test at the end. It wasn't an easy exam. And it wasn't just based around memory testing. It was to see whether you could actually do the work that you were supposed to do.
Absolutely. Even today, before I left, we were working on getting on more BUP certifications for the agents. Believe it or not everybody has ULD BUP certifications in the industry because of the transition with going to a handling agent, and the help and the staffing and what have you. So having pallets delivered to us and properly built up by certified people, there's a lack of certified trained people to do that. But as you said, if somebody has a Lufthansa training, it means a lot. And this is a hot ticket item. And we're going to try to arrange, I'm still talking the present tense. Lufthansa is still going to arrange for training for these agents, our global partners and our business partners alike, to get the BUP certifications and training.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I can empathize there where you're saying we, because I spent so much time there. Sometimes I still feel, it never leaves you. And there's nothing bad I could say about Lufthansa and people that I met. I've got to mention somebody there, you probably know him, because for a time he was running the training. Frank Muller.
Frank Muller, yeah.
Frank Muller. Frank, oh my God, he'll kill me now. I forgot his surname. Oh my God Almighty! That's
once in a while. This is what happened. You know what that's called, Chris? You know what that's called? OLD.
Yeah.
It's what happens when we get older. We start forgetting little snippets.
No, I've got to remember it. Oh my God Almighty! He'll kill me. Anyhow, I'll come to that. I'll have an old man's moment there in a minute. Why did I forget his name? He's always on the front tip of the tongue. Anyhow, right, I'll go for that. No, talking about names. Which people made the biggest impact on you in your career in Lufthansa? Throw some names out there.
Well, a guy who hired me was a guy by the name of Phil Eby. You never met him. But really, when I came back to work for Lufthansa, it was Peter Ohlmeyer.
Oh, Peter, yeah.
Peter, he had the biggest impact on my life because he recognized that I didn't want to stay where I was at, downstairs, and I could do more. So he got me to go up into sales, and I shadowed an outside salesperson and became an outside sales rep. So Peter Ohlmeyer really recognized that I could do more and gave me that opportunity. And then he promoted me as well to sales manager for Miami, above the guy who I was reporting to. You remember Joe Geatman?
Yes, yeah.
So Joe Geatman and I were very good friends. And when Peter appointed me to take his position, it wasn't easy. And having Joe report to me, and it sort of put a little rift between Joe and I, but we all worked it out. And I made it good for Joe, and he made it good for me. It was, matter of fact, I got to go see him. There's a lot of people I want to go and say thank you to. Let me tell you a story. I told you I started off in 1979 with Continental. So I'm at the Tiaca event in Miami about 5 weeks ago. And I'm talking to Jan Krems, and we're talking. He says, we got to go golf. And I look across the aisle, and there's the guy who hired me 43 years ago at Continental Airlines.
Jesus.
What's the chance of getting to say thank you to the guy who actually hired you into the air freight industry? And I went over there. His name's Kerry Gallagher. I went over and I says, Kerry, I says, look, he goes, Ron Sanford. I says, how do you remember? It's been so long. He goes, I'll never forget you. And I said, well, thank you very much. And he had a company out in Texas. He sold to Donata, and he looks great. And I just, I was so appreciative of the fact that I had the opportunity to tell this man, thank you, thank you, thank you. Look, I've been able to have 3 kids, buy a house, experience everything I've experienced because you gave me the first chance to get into this, and he was blown away, but I was really thankful I had the opportunity to express to him how I felt.
No, that's brilliant, Ron. No, that's lovely. That's lovely. And I've just had a moment. It's Frank Breuer, and he will kill me if he listens to this. I'm not going to tell him I did it.
You remembered it. You remembered it. There you go.
But I'm trying to remember. How could I forget it? But anyhow, yes. Yeah, so right, that's good. So that's Kerry. That's Kerry. You've mentioned. You mentioned Pete. You mentioned Peter Ashworth. What about any other people? Any other people? Why would you remember them? What impact did they make on you?
Well, Pete saw that opportunity. Gave me that opportunity. Michael Fovek, great guy. Even keeled, nice demeanor. Every time I worked for somebody, my boss, I would evaluate. What do I like about this guy? What would I do if I was in his position differently? You know what I mean? So I took away the things that I admired about them, and I tried to avoid the things that I didn't, to try to improve myself. And Michael Folberg was a nice guy. Believe it or not, Georg Medunsky.
Yeah.
George Medunsky, great guy. I mean, it's lonely at the top, and he had a tough job being responsible for the Americas, and he was a tough guy, but on the golf course, down to earth, easygoing, but he followed a routine. He was typisch Deutsch. He was German. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I went to I don't know how much time we have. 25 minutes, he said, right?
Yeah, no. But whilst I'm enjoying it, poor old Salem will be ticking away, and we go, get off here. But no, I'm enjoying this.
Okay, so we went to a Hellman meeting in Miami. Their headquarters in Miami, and Hellman was a global partner at the time, and I'm just an outside sales rep, not into global partner management yet. But we go in there, and big conference desk in the room, 20, 30 people, and it's George, myself, and the management from Hellman. I can't remember who it was because they changed so much. But George sat down, Georg sat down, and he says, look, you're not performing the way a global partner should. And he's demanding of our customer that they should do more with us, and was unacceptable. So the guy from Hellman stands up, reaches in his pocket, takes out a money clip, and throws it at George. He goes, look, I'm working for Hellman. I'm not working for Lufthansa. And then he proceeded to take George's money clip with all his money and put it back in his pocket. You know what I mean? It was a great experience, but he was a great guy. And you got on a golf course and down to earth. I was playing golf with him and Dr. Otto Andreas at the Turnberry one time. And golf is a common theme with me. And that's another thing that I'm really involved in and means a lot to me. I love the game of golf, and I'll explain that more to you later. But so we're at the Turnberry, and George hits a ball, and it just about hits Andreas right in the head. Oh my God, didn't even have a chance to say 4. So then a little while later, Andreas hits the ball and almost hits George. And I thought, are they going to kill each other? And then I started cracking up, and they said, what's so funny? I says, well, if you guys kill each other out here, I could actually run the company for a little while until I tell somebody you're dead. And I couldn't play golf after that point. It was so funny.
No, that's brilliant. I remember a few times being on the golf course with you, but I remember once when we could not beat the pairing that we were against, and I proposed a little option of how we could beat them. But your fairness and your love of the game would not allow me to complete the negotiations that I had with a couple of ladies who were on the drinks cart. So I appreciate your honesty there. And my brother Mick, he's a mad golfer, so he'd always say, well, he always says I shouldn't be on a golf course, Scott. No etiquette, and I don't abide by the rules. But
you're fun. You're fun to be out there. You made me crack up, and that's the other thing I love about the game. You go out there, you have a good time. You have a great time. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a few other people. I mean, I mentioned Michael Foberg, Klaus Holler.
Oh, Klaus Holler, yeah, yeah. There's another
Klaus
one. Yeah.
Holler. He and I stay in touch. I call him regularly. He's allowed me to stay at his house. What a man! What a man! And I became one of his direct reports when I became head of global account management, and he took me under his wing. He's not old enough to be my father, but I looked up to him like a father figure because he's a real man of integrity, has real character, and he had to make some tough decisions during his term, and he did it. He did it, and I admire him immensely. So Klaus Holler's a great guy.
Yeah, no, he's a good lad. He's a good lad. And some of the other lads, I mean, I'm sure you remember Peter Allmeyer. He was tremendous. What a great man to spend time with, entertaining, fun, really brilliant. I remember doing his farewell do down in Miami. I had such a laugh because he wasn't expecting all the people to have given me so much information on him, and I loved every minute of it. He was behind the black ball then, definitely. But other people, Rainer Hudek, God bless him.
There you go. There you go.
He was a tough old boy, but he had a soft, kind heart.
Yeah, I'm telling you, these people had a job to do, and they had to maintain a demeanor and make decisions, and then they carried themselves in such a way. But when you get them out of the office, and you have a one-on-one conversation, whether it's driving from the office to the airport or having dinner with them, they'll open up with you, and they're teddy bears, and then that's when you learn too, So
yeah. And somebody, you look at this day and age, when people are saying there's not enough ladies or females in the industry, and everybody says, you should do this, do that, and then they're all trying to correct everything. But somebody who was way ahead of her time, Maria Schmucker. I mean, she was in charge of New York, and people like John Spina, all the boys in New York, they respected her so much.
You got that right. Now there's a woman who got the job because of her ability, and not only not because she was a woman, because she was capable, she knew how to do the job, and she got it done. And that's the thing that means a lot to me. I mean, nowadays it seems to be that, hey, look, there's all about this equity, and you're doing what you got to do, and I'm fine with that because it has been a boys' club to a certain extent, because it's been dirty. Cargo, everybody looked at it being dirty, you know what I mean? But there's some real competent women out there, and Maria Schmucker was one of those people. She was incredible, and she got it done. She carried herself well.
No, she was a great lady. And then another lady who was quite, I remember the first time I met her, I thought, oh my goodness me. But she was a cracker. I really loved working with her. Christine Spina, John's wife.
Well, I never met her. I thought the world of John. John got it done, and I never met Christina. Never had the opportunity to meet her. I'm down in Miami, don't forget.
But no, me and Christine, I shouldn't say Christine, I'm getting all my names mixed up now. She'll kill me as well. But Christine, we did the TD sales training. So we were on the road with her. And then I remember doing the road show in America for that as well. That was such an awesome time. Fantastic.
Look at that smile on your face. You had a great time, and you were instrumental in helping all of us in the United States learn about these new products and the ISO 9000. I mean, you too, when you were in the office, you were getting it done and doing what needed to be done. And I'll never forget, you said you got to say what you're going to do, and then you got to do what you said you're going to do, or something like that, So
something like that. I'll probably forget it now as well. But Volker, he's another good friend of yours. Volker, what's his surname?
Volker Meinardis.
Meinardis, that's it. Please say a big hello to him. I loved him to bits. He was a diamond. And also Dina.
Dina and I stay in touch. She just got a job with the Jazz, and she's working with a guy by the name of David Bang. There's a lot of things happening with Jazz right now, and the company has really taken off. Volker's doing great. He worked for me as an outside sales rep when I was the sales manager, and we're going to have to cut back because the times were down and bad. And I said, Volker, I'm not sure I can protect your job. You know what I mean? I really believe. And he was like a son to me, even though I'm not old enough to be his father. And he applied for the job in Phoenix, and then he transferred from Phoenix to LA, where he's still at to this day. Yeah. But he's a great guy. Dina is unbelievable. She's She went over to Germany for a little while too.
Yeah. I've seen her over there. Yeah. No, brilliant, fantastic people. Now, I said earlier, I'd ask you a similar question. At the end of the 41 years, if you were able to say to yourself when you started, would you say, well, son, you've achieved more than you ever expected, blah, blah, blah. What do you think you'd say to yourself 41 years earlier if you were able to go back and tap that young man on the shoulder before he got down to probably -1 or -2 in his handicap? What would you say to him about his career?
Looking back, that's a great question. I've done a lot of reflecting, trying to go from 1,000 miles an hour to 5 miles an hour in this retirement. It was so abrupt. I've done a lot of looking back, and as I mentioned to you earlier, it's still surreal. I was in Hong Kong, and I'm at the top of this cogwheel train by myself because I traveled a lot by myself, and I'm by myself over there, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking, why am I here? What an opportunity, and I was just thankful and grateful that I had the opportunity to go over there for a meeting. And if I was to look back and talk to a younger Ron Sanford, I'd say, listen, just keep your head to the grindstone. The world is going to open up for you. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. Just do what's needed, get it done to the best of your ability. And you're going to experience things that you've never experienced before, and it's so true, whether or not it's the challenges of going into a meeting with 30 executives and being by yourself, giving a presentation and talking, and trying to promote your products and services, or being alone on this mountain in Hong Kong, or this hill in Hong Kong, again, as I mentioned in my post, and the first time I ever posted anything on LinkedIn too, I think a lot of people liked it more because of where it was taken than because it was for Ron, but it's just been an incredible ride that I'm so grateful and thankful to Lufthansa for giving me that opportunity to experience. I mean, I know I've earned it. Working 60, 70 hours a week, when I was in Atlanta, or even when I was a sales manager, you don't get paid for that, but because you have a passion for your job and you want to serve others and not fail, you do it. You don't think anything of it. You just, the sales job, at least my sales job, was a 24/7, 365 international air freight. You can get a call I got a call on Thanksgiving one time. I'm at the table. We have 25 people because it's a big family. And it's a colleague, Italian colleague from Germany, and his name's Alberto. He says, Ron, he goes, I gave David Lara on the phone. I got to get this done. I says, Alberto, first say hello to my family. We're all sitting at the table, and say hello to them. So I got up from the table, said the blessing, got up from the table, and we took care of business for David, because David was a tough guy too. But again, to answer your question, I would just say, to anybody thinking about getting in, and that's another thing we got to talk about, anybody thinking about getting into this industry, it's an incredible industry. It came to more attention because of supply chain and solution issues that have occurred in the past 2 years. Okay. Yeah. The people understand it just a little bit better. But for those of us who've worked in it, the vital role that we play in getting products around the world is so instrumental in keeping the world going around. Whether it's PPEs or whether or not it's an MRI machine, yeah, or whatever, it's so vitally important. And I felt like that is so gratifying too, to be a part of something that's so meaningful, even though the people don't realize what it is I did.
Totally agree with you, my friend. If and like I said to you about Walt Disney making a film, if he was able to make a film about our business, and it was a little bit like the Love Actually ending, where people are coming in and out of departures and arrivals and meeting each other and all for different reasons, it would be a fantastic film. And David Lara will be very, very pleased that he got a little mention there, because I could just picture him thinking, it's Thanksgiving, I shouldn't call poor old Ron, and then he think, sorry, I've got to give him a ring, this is important, and he just ring you anyhow.
Well, he didn't call me. It was the sales rep who called me, because David was a tough guy. When he had something that went awry or out of line, forget about it. He would let you know, but again, over a glass of wine and dinner, what a nice guy. So polite, courteous and everything, but he did his job. When he wanted to make a point, he made it with no uncertain terms. So it was Alberto Pertol who called me on Thanksgiving, a nice Italian guy.
No, it's amazing. I used to go skiing with Dave, so yeah, I'll mention to him now that you mentioned him. Ron, listen, you said something about Lufthansa, and you'd be thankful, and what a great career you've had, and I would endorse that. And also, I give thanks to Lufthansa for meeting people like yourself, and to think that we'd still be able to be in touch, so many years later and do something like this and still have so much in common. Absolutely fantastic, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. And if you ever find yourself in Miami for a conference where you're moderating or doing something, please let me know in advance, and I'll pick you up at the airport. We'll do lunch or have coffee or do dinner. I'd love to see you in person and share some more stories.
Yeah, and Ron, game of golf, mate.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I got to be careful with you on the golf course.
Seriously, honestly, Ron, you enjoy your time with your family and your friends, and it's been honestly, it's an absolute honor to have worked and known you. Really appreciate it, and thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with you on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Chris. Have a great day. Merry Christmas. Only the best for you and your family, and all the best for the new year.
Thank you so much.